like someone I talk to, we talk about like sort of like a well, like the introvert has like a deep well, and it's just like thought, idea, the reservoir. And I think for the extrovert, the well is like it fills up and then they pour it out. Like they fills up and then they pour it out. They fills up and pour it out. They just keep
pain. I think we'll get into that too. Like we were talking about empathy before. It's like I have no problem relating with someone's pain or empathy. It's like I'm in touch with your emotions more than I'm in touch with my own. Like hip hop has definitely been therapeutic for me though in that, because even the way I'm talking right now has so much more emotion than when I was younger. I couldn't even talk like this. I couldn't even go, hey, what's going on, man? I couldn't talk like that. It wasn't in my skill set. And little by little hip hop has definitely brought me out of that shell, being able to emote and to be able to tap into, like you said, the lion, and now I remember that. Like, so whenever I have to go give a presentation that's not about hip hop and just about me talking or whatever, now it's like, yo, remember you're a beast. Remember you're a lion. Remember.
Yeah. So I'm going to hit y'all with something that'll help. So take it to public speaking. We should do a whole episode on public speaking. So here's the thing about public speaking. I think most people who are introverts have been told like, oh, you're not good at public speaking. You're an introvert, right? You're timid. Oh yeah. I was like, no, it's just that the thing that you probably do well is seen as a crutch, right? Like if you're charismatic and you're outgoing, that's seen as like, oh, that's a good public speaker. It's like, no, that's just their gift. They're charismatic.
Right. And here we are. Yo. That was an abrupt cutoff right there to the intro.
Yeah, I couldn't really hear the stream going into the clubhouse when I was listening, but
you couldn't hear it at all? I could hear it.
All right. Well,
yo.
Yeah, I think you just muted on Clubhouse.
Yeah, I muted me for a second because it's just giving me too much feedback. So I'll pop it up when I'm talking. Starting in a second.
All right. Well, today we're talking about competitiveness. So this came up after last week's conversation. We were talking about acting and tapping into the creativity, tapping into the roles. And so some of you said, made me think of, you said something about competition. And if I think about myself, I've always been competitive. If you see me coming down the street, or I don't know, you just see me in daily life, you might be like, oh, this person doesn't look competitive, or they don't give off the, energy that they're competitive. But it always goes back to what we talk about with this, the lion inside, the hip hop artist, the hip hop confidence, hip hop mentality. So yeah, I guess I want to just talk about how introverts, one, we compete with ourselves. I mean, we are the most competitive because we compete with ourselves. Like, as soon as I get off stage, I'm like, I did that wrong. I did that wrong. I did that wrong. I did that wrong. Got to fix that. Got to correct that. Did I do this? Like, every performance, I'm like replaying the whole performance as soon as I get off stage. Like, okay, I should have said this better. I messed up that line. But I mean, I'm also just very competitive. Like, I love entering contests. So I guess we could talk about, is this just the battle rappers in us, or is it just the introverted? Is there something connected to the introvertedness, or is it the hip hop influence? Are you muted on stream? I can't hear you on the stream.
Yes. Sorry. There I am. That better?
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't know you were going to go battle rapper on us, but I see where you're going. In terms of the competitiveness, I know I've said before that I don't have the kill instinct, but I do when I'm about to be killed. And I feel like it's funny that you brought it to the MC battle thing. Like, I love those rap battles, by the way, that are the type where you compliment the other person. Like, I always find it a little corny to start out like dissing your opponent when you don't know anything about them. And I always feel bad, like, in these things. I feel bad that somebody, has to lose or whatever. But in terms of the the let's put it this way: in terms of the kill or be killed, I definitely don't want to be killed, and I definitely don't want to lose. So I'm. You have a lot of clicking going on here. I'm not sure what
You
that
know,
is.
I just do.
Um,
I think it's just coming
I
through.
definitely don't want to lose.
Right.
There's no doubt about it, but I don't want to humiliate the other person. So when this comes into the introvert realm, I mean, it's the same way. It's like I'm not trying to even bother. I'm not even trying to be noticed in many realms, especially the social realms of the introvert, until I'm called out. The second I'm called out, whether it's good or bad, I'm going to represent myself. You know, I might have the feeling that I don't want to be called out at that moment, and I've had this happen recently in my own workplace. But it's like the second that I am, I'm going to be like, oh, cameras on kind of thing. Like here now, I have to go. But in terms of why I relate that back to the competitiveness piece that you're talking about, it's like the second the spotlight is shining on me, and now it's like, oh, everybody's looking at me, like, oh yeah, I'm not going to come off like a fool, even if that means you're going to get slayed. You know what I'm saying? But in my perfect world, it's like, how can I find a way that we can both have our space, and and that we just kind of go on business as usual. And I find a lot of times these rap battles, it just even yeah, extrapolating on that a little bit more. Some of my best friends have been people that I've battled, that we've went head to head with. And I feel like I've heard other people say that, but that's not always the case. Some people are really, really heated for life with that person. And we talk about you don't know someone until you compete with them and whatever it is, right? Boxing, the dojo, wrestling for you, on the gridiron for you as well. It's like, do you feel like after you get off with somebody that you've had a good, fisticuffs or sparring with, that you can now be cool, or is that a difficult thing? And especially as an introvert, are you even trying to, is that helping you make that connection, if that makes sense?
Right. Well, take it to football. Yeah, when I was in high school, I mean, I was trying to destroy you. I mean, like when I was on the field, it's like I was like, I'm trying to destroy you. Or like
There we go.
this is what I'm here to do. Like it makes me think of this. What was it? I think it was Patrice O'Neal. I was watching his stand up one time. And he's like, you got moms up there in the stands. Talking about, oh my baby. He said, be quiet, woman. It's on the your son should be on the field with killers. I started cracking up at that joke. But yeah, like I feel like with battle rap, I mean, I'm the kind of person I guess I could leave it on the field. Like I see you on the street, I'll be like, "What up?" Yeah, some like you say, some people take it serious, but to me, because I know someone who like they often say how they don't like battle rap because they think it continues to like promote like devaluing of each other, like oh, like the dozens. And for me personally, like battle rap is just like another sport. It's like I could get out there, I could destroy you, and then I see you. It's like, yeah, you came on the field, I came on the field, we displayed our talent. Okay, now we're in the grocery store. So, like, if you take, I mean, yeah, to a certain degree, words obviously hurt, and if you're going after people's family and your disses, I can see why some people would take it. But I mean, I usually don't go after this stuff anyway because I'm like, yo, this is garbage. Like, I want to be, superior lyric wise. I want to be like, oh, this some bars. But yeah, we know what wins is people say like, oh, and your mom and I got your girl and you ain't got no cars. Like, all right. Um, but I feel like I'm ultra competitive and almost combative. Part of it is the philosophical. Like I don't know. I'm just always raring for a fight. I'm just like, let's go. Let's like when I go into places, like, come on. I'm like, come on, let's go. Like, challenge me and challenge. Iron sharpens iron. Like, I'm ready to go into church and like debate people. I'm ready to like cause ruckus. Like, just go in there and be like, yo, what is? I'm ready to go into church and be like, y'all not doing what y'all supposed to be doing. And then I think part of it, I've talked about this before, not on here, but I was in the drama troupe I always talk about. I was like, I feel like I'm always pushing against like someone who's never worked out. It's like you got two people in the gym, one person's always been working out, another person never worked out, the other person just oh, and like I feel like that's what it's like in society. Like I'm just looking for somebody to push against me, like, yeah, come on, like, yeah, let's push each other. So I think I'm always looking for that, and I'm trying to like instigate and be a antagonize people, like, let's go, stir up something, let's get after it.
Hmm. I got a gym friend now. We've been shooting around. Whoops, sorry. I got a gym friend now. We've been shooting around a lot. Like whenever he sees me, he's like, "Yo, let's play," And this dude tried out for the Washington Wizards. You know what I mean? Like he's real nice with it. And but he loves that too, just like you. He sees me, he's like, "Yo, let's push each other. Let's do all these competitions and stuff." and it's definitely real friendly, but it's just really just us couple out there just trying to get better. And but I found out like something about myself, like when I was young and rap battling too, like in my head, I had the exact same thing you said. I will destroy you, right? But it's funny because that's not really my attitude in sports, um, which is funny, right? It's like, I mean, you're doing classic kind of sports that you have to do that. Football's probably what attracts you to them, right? There's football, there's wrestling. If you don't do that, you might as well not show up, right? Conversely, I've never played football. Now I played a lot outside, and I played flag football on teams and stuff like that. And I've always played wide receiver. And I was a sprinter, you know, and I'm like over 6'3". Like I got a receiver body, right? And I'm not like super skinny either. It's like I got shoulders. I could take a hit, you know, like, and I could, you know, probably be pretty efficient in that if I was playing high school. But I liked that position because I didn't have to be the one doing the tackling. I was never the one like trying to like, oh, I'm gonna tackle you real hard. It's like, I'm just like, again, if I have to, I'm gonna crush you. You know, but for the most part, I'm like, I'm not trying to. I don't know. Part of it might be from being the bigger kid, always, most of the time, just knowing, you know, a lot of times I get in trouble where you barely hit someone, and then they're like, oh, they're crying, you know. In seventh and eighth grade, I was punching all my friends like super hard, like trying to leave bruises on their arms, like that kind of stuff. It was just like what we did, right? And don't know
Right.
if you grew up this way, but it was just like we'd see each other, be like, hey, what's up? Boom, as hard as we could. Like, and in retrospect, I'm like, what was I thinking? You know what I'm saying? I've seen some of those people at reunions and stuff, and I feel like apologizing, be like, bro, like, you know, seventh grade, man, I don't know what I was doing. But this is what I mean. What I say about myself is that as I've matured with rap battles, I can't wait to get into a rap battle where it's like a compliment battle, like I was saying. Now, if I don't like you, oh, I'm not the one you want to face. Like if I don't like you,
Right.
like, but I feel it's this corny canned, like right off the rip, let's make enemies with each other kind of thing. And I'm like, nah, I'm not even trying to do that. I'm like, let me poke around, see how this person is. I want you to know that I'm the dominant animal, but I don't need you to know that I think that I'm actually better than you, if that makes sense. It's like I want you to know that what I do over here in this realm is untouchable. But I want you to succeed in your space too. Now, if your space encroaches on mine, then yeah, that little tiger can come out a little bit. Like, oh, you're a punchline intellectual rapper who thinks you got it going on with flows and stuff like that. Okay, and we're in a battle, yeah. I mean, but I could be at a show with there's 10 people just like me, and I think it's cool. Like that's what I mean about me. Like I'm like, yo, I meet someone like a Bernard, I'm like, dope, finally. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like non-whackness. I want that to prevail, I guess is what I mean.
Right.
And you know, I see another person who's dope at a sport that I play. I'm like, yo, let's practice together. You know, like kind of like dude is talking about, as opposed to like, let me show you that I can, you know, shoot from further away than you or whatever. And I didn't always have that. When I was younger, I would play that part. Like because you see it so reinforced, like, yo, must be competitive, must be competitive. And after a while, it's like I'm internally competitive. Like, man, I compete with
Right.
myself like nobody's business. So I don't even pay attention now as much to what other people are doing. Where I was young, it's all I was looking at. Oh, this person thinks they're nice. Let me show them what's up. And then all your friends would be like, yo, he raps. You better go battle him. It's like, why would you immediately say he raps? You better go battle him. You know, in retrospect, it's like, is there not food for two? You know what I mean? Is there not two people can't eat in this game? So I always thought it was. I know it's tangential off the topic, but it does have a bit to do, I think, with how you're reared and how you come out, and you know that could be whether you're in the sort of dominant social circles or not too. I was tangential to all those dominant social circles because of hip hop, because hip hop is so mainstream that you know that part of my personality was always right there, and that's what I'm saying. I didn't gravitate to that naturally. You know, the kill or be killed kind of thing. Like now it's in me. I don't know if that was like really in me like initially because these days I'm kind of like, yo, I'm cool. Let me just do my thing over here. Let me get my little
Right.
shine. You get your shine, and we're all good. You don't see that too often in hip hop. It's like rah, kill, you know, all the time, and um, feels a little awkward in retrospect, you know. So,
Well, okay, to your point, like, yeah, I mean, as we always talk about, like, there's these different dimensions of all our humanity. So, in one, social introvert, creative extrovert. So, like, yeah, when people doing all that, like, come up hitting you stuff, nah, I wouldn't have been with that. I'd be like, no, do not touch me. Like, not because I'm gonna fight you, but just like, do not touch me. Like, I don't want to be touched. I
that
don't
was
want to
just
be.
my dumb circle.
I don't want to be touched. I don't want you to see how hard you can hit me. I don't really want to see about how hard I can hit you. But again, if we were on the football field, like, yeah, I will destroy you. I'm like, let's suit it up. Let's put on the pads, and yeah, let's see how hard I can hit you because I will destroy you. Now, maybe because that's contained in like rules and games, and there's a goal, but this sort of arbitrary like playful. Yeah, I'm not one for like the what they say rough housing. I'm not for this like random jumping around on people. I'm like, dude, just don't touch me. Um, Something you said earlier too. I was thinking about like since I just taught at high school, like when people get in fights, I'd be like, yo, y'all are so dumb. Like, what are y'all fighting about? Like, y'all are just stupid. Um, and I remember I heard one girl say one time, she's like, yeah, you know how when you and a person got all this tension and then you fight, she's like, well, at least the tension is now over. And I was just like, what are you talking about? And then after I thought about it, I was like, okay, I could kind of see what you're talking about. And so, oh yeah, I was surprised because some people can like fight and then they can see each other. Not me. Like if you fought me, it's like over. Like the relationship is over. It's like we're enemies for life. Like I'm like that's the other thing I told the kids. I was like, you don't want me to fight because number one, I'm not gonna fight fair. Number two, I'm on all out warfare from that point on out. I'm not gonna touch you anymore. It's just gonna be like intellectual warfare. It's gonna be like I'm gonna come sit next to you and just say nothing and just be quiet. I'm just gonna let you think. Like, is he gonna hit me? I'm just like, hey, what's up, man? Just chilling, chilling. I'm gonna buy you presents. Like, I'm gonna do all kinds of psychological stuff because I want you to like live in constant fear. Because like to me, yeah, physical fighting, I don't know. I never understood physical fighting, but but to connect to what we're saying, but I'm very like a physical person. So I think that's the intrigue of what we talk about the social introvert, creative extrovert, the quiet demeanor, but then like the lion inside. I think the competitiveness comes from the introvert, and we're uniquely influenced by the hip hop. But I do think perhaps the competitive nature of the introvert is because the external world, we often don't feel like we are competitive or we don't appear as competitive. So then when there's something that's like, now I'm trying to put this. It's like I don't know. It's almost like the competitiveness of the introvert lives inside. So then, when there's a chance to unleash it, it's like we unleash it all at once. Maybe that's it. It's like one of my favorite quotes is that "Beware the wrath of a patient man." It's like, oh, okay, I let y'all. I put up with this for years, but now that the well has come to the top, now that that final marble has been onto the scale, you about to feel all of the wrath all at once.
Slow to wrath with great understanding, as they say. Um, Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting question. It makes me think about the kinds of things, and again, it's nurture nature, the kinds of things that we're drawn to as introverts. Like, for instance, I've always been drawn to boxing, but I've never really wanted to get hit. I've always been drawn to UFC fighting, never wanted to get hit. I have a love hate relationship with UFC fighting because I'm like, what are y'all doing? But I get it. I get the
Right.
sort of the rage inside. Let me see how no rules, basically. Let me see what I can do to shut you down, kind of thing. There's an appeal to that. I can admit that, but I don't want to pound someone in the head. Like it's kind of like I love to get in the ring and see where I stand, kind of thing, which is what you do in rap battles all the time. But again, I don't want to crush you. I don't want your skull to be crushed. I don't want to I don't understand how people do UFC fights and think that that's like a viable way of living. I used to host them. I did actually rap battles inside the ring, and it was sort of like the side entertainment. I got an article here about it. I think that's oh yeah, it's right there. I'll have to grab it. It's right there. Um, in fact, it'll probably not project well because of the lighting in here, but let me see if you can see it. Sorry, folks on Clubhouse, but um, that is me and the guy there in the picture. We're in the ring, as you can kind of see. It's his beat down, right? And it's talking about me being the local rapper, but also the promoter of the thing. So that's the promoter of the boxing side. Um, and shout out to my man Chris Farrow on writing that article. Big great journalist in Boston. But the whole thing was like they were putting rap in the middle of the ring, in the middle of the UFC fight. Obviously, drawing my point for me, you can see the comparison. You can see the appeal, but I wasn't trying to beat anybody. So people see me all the time, especially my size and my look, and they'd be like, "Oh, you must be a UFC fighter." And I'm like, "Nah." Well, like I'm always saying, "Yo, you must be special ops or something or whatever." And I'm like, "Nah,
Right.
I'm not." But my look says, "Don't mess with me." Um, or you'll find out, kind of thing. And that's kind of like what I feel about with the rap stuff too. It's like, yeah, I'm not the one, but I'm not looking to be the one either. It's like I'm not walking around with the chip. I'm not the chip on my shoulder, dude. Like I'll avoid confrontation as much as I possibly can.
Right.
Um, but you don't want it to actually have to go down because like you too, yeah, show me where the lamp is, like you know what I'm saying, is there a lamp, is there a paperweight, like I mean it's just a first, because when it's really on it's dangerous, and it's like, if you I'm going to do everything possible to be like, yo, you cannot possibly want to be go right now. Like you're crazy. Like we're grown men kind of thing. Like you're out of your tree, unless I've felt super, super, super threatened. And once you feel super threatened, then it's the kill or be killed thing that takes over. But the instinctual kind of thing for me is avoid confrontation. I don't want to have any. I'm not talking verbal. I'm talking about like with something that's going to come down where it's physical, right? I'm like, like, all right, I'm cool. Like if it's going to be in like you're questioning my manhood kind of thing, that's cool. You can question my manhood. You can question my manhood because I know what my manhood will do if we're in the physical arena. And it's like
Right.
either I'm going to get like maimed or you could potentially, and we don't ever want that situation to happen. And I think in rap battle, like you say, like I will give people the disclaimer. I'm like, yo, what I'm about to say, I don't really feel any of this stuff towards you. I'm just going for the weakest thing I see. And a friend of mine's interviewing me next week. He says it all the time about me. He's like, bro, he pulled me over like 3 times. He's like, bro, he goes, bro, I can't believe you went. He's like, you got me. I can't believe you went there. Like, and I'm like, yo, I don't even consciously think about it when you're in the moment, but I feel the flicker right before, and I go, ooh, I know what I'm going to say right now. Oh, yep,
Right.
it's coming. Can't hold it back. Like here comes the truth. Like I'm one of those, it's on the tip of my tongue. I'm going to say it anyways, some
Right.
sort of way instead of letting it dwell inside me. When I have something to say to someone, it's going to come out. It might not come out the first time, it might not come out the second time, but it's like as soon as there's a correct time to bring it up, I'm going to couch that conversation the way that it has to come out for my benefit.
Right.
And it's the same
Right.
way in rap battles. Like when all of a sudden I feel that little flinch, I'm like, oh yeah, I am going to say it. I just got to think of the creative way to do it. But sometimes it's just rolling off the tip of your tongue. And this kid was like, bro, you really brought my dirt out there. I was like, yo, I mean, that is the rules. It's like, we gotta think about that as artists
Right.
too. Like, what are we putting out there in the ether? Because it's like anything
Right.
out there in the ether could come back. I've man, I can't tell you the amount of teacher jokes I've had launched my way in rap battles. I expect it when I go out there. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? I expect someone to slap me over the head with the teacher rounds. But I do think, just back to the original point, I think there's something to the kinds of things we're drawn to. I don't know if that's all introvert extrovert or not, but I think there's probably a pot of things that are probably high up on the list that would naturally gravitate to an introvert in terms of when you think about things that are competitive. Because I think we're so into ourselves and what we do that, of course, we're going to be like, oh, yeah, this is my time now. Oh, yeah, let me shine. Don't necessarily want to destroy you, but I get that. But it's like I'm going to position myself in the best possible light because I've prepared. And you talk about it always, how prepared we are, for when that spotlight comes on or when the ring lights are on.
Yeah. Speaking of, is your light kind of keeps going kind of hot at
It's the
times.
most irritating thing in the world. It's on automatic, and when I shut it off automatic right now, I look like I'm in a cloud. But I'll go for it. Let me try working on it.
Uh, I mean, sometimes you're right, but then it gets very hot. So yeah, okay, I mean, a lot of things come to my mind. One is like the Karate Kid idea. Like Daniel's son wants to learn karate because he wants to destroy Mr. Miyagi's like, you don't understand. He's like, karate, you learn it so you don't have to use it. So I think introverts in some ways were like that. We're like, hey, I could destroy you, but I don't want to have to. But also I kind of want to at certain times. Like I kind of do want to destroy you. Um, I'm thinking about, especially, okay, so here's, yeah, with wrestling, another person I know, we both wrestled, and he brought this up, and I guess I never really thought about it. Maybe I thought about it a little bit, only because like there was an episode of the Cosby Show where Elvin and Sandra were teaching Theo how to wrestle, and they went to see his match, and Sandra was like, "Why are we going to see this barbaric, display of masculinity?" But then when she came back, she was like, "Oh, Elvin, now I understand why you like it. It's about the will of men interlocking." And he was like, "Exactly, Sandra. Now you get it. It's very philosophical." She was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Okay, it's kind of interesting." So and I could see that because like there's something about wrestling physically, which I did in high school, and like wrestling with thoughts. Like you want to interlock with someone's ideas and you want to like figure them out. And like, in wrestling, there's literally these configurations, like your body's contorted and twisted. You got to like it's like a human puzzle. You're trying to like get loose from the other guy. The other guy's trying to keep you locked into his hold. So I think there is something about the wrestling part, the kind of the challenge. That's what the other person I know who wrestled. We talked about there's something about your mind being challenged, and the body represents that in wrestling. And so it's it seems like a disconnect because when you see someone who is very intellectual, maybe they play chess, you wouldn't think like, oh, this person's also going to be a wrestler. Like they're also going to be a beast physically. You think, oh, they're going to go home and read a book, or they're going to go home and have a intellectual conversation. But perhaps it's maybe for the introvert. I don't know. I'm gonna have to think about this more. It's like the introvert who likes to wrestle with ideas. You can get so much out in writing. You can get so much out in music. You can get so much out artistically, but maybe there's something about the introvert who's like, well, my body, like my whole body needs to get this out, like
Yeah.
this desire to be challenged. So maybe every
Mm.
introvert has that one physicality thing to the max where they're like, I have to do this in order to feel like my inner challenge person is getting out in a physical way.
Right. Well, this leads to two thoughts for me. One, I can hear my laundry thing is dinging. I have my door partially open. I usually don't have my door open, but I don't know if you can hear it in the background. But the I have the back of the door soundproofed, and I really don't think it does anything. But back of the door soundproof, where the flaps go over the edge and all that kind of stuff. No, two things come to mind. I was just thinking about my chessboard that's right over here. My son and I, we got two chessboards set up, and I grew up playing chess with my older cousin. And my older cousin, because he was older, he was better than me, right? And so I was like, I will beat you, I will beat you, I will beat. And then when I beat him for the first time, I was like, cool, I don't need to beat him ever again. That's kind of the weird thing about me. It's like I just want to do it. I'm like, I am so determined to get there. And then when I do, I'm like, I'm chill. Um, that was the first thing that came to me, because I'm like that with most sports. I want to prove to you that I should be in the conversation. And then I'm kind of off to the next thing. Chess, it's the same way. Like, I'll be the best person at your local barbershop if people don't play every day. But someone who plays every day is going to be better than me. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I'm cool with that. I know that I can go in and people be like, oh, you should play pro in chess. He's really good. No, I'm really good among the local people. I'm not like chess club good. You know what I'm saying? Um, because I've played enough and I get it, and I'm fairly into it, but I'm not like reading chess books. Like, nah, like I've I know some opening moves and that kind of stuff, and that's about where it ends. I don't need to be that guy at chess, and I know some people that's their whole entire life, but I'm like, I would never get embarrassed in chess, right? Unless I'm playing against like really really good people. And that's kind of how I am with a lot of stuff. I'm always saying to you, like, I'm not that talented in that many things. Like, I'm just good enough that I'm not embarrassing myself. You know what I'm saying? And like, I want to be, whatever it is, I want to be proficient enough so that I'm not like an embarrassment, right? But I don't have the time to become excellent on much stuff because the things that I love so much require so much time for me to be good. And this is where I was going with this when you were speaking, because I know we're opposites on this. Um, I have a wear anything around the house, right? Wearing white t-shirt and a pair of shorts, right? I don't care. I can go to the store and be like, I don't care. However, I have an immaculate sense of what I should be wearing to the right occasion, kind of thing. Like like I was just downstairs going through all my clothes again, beginning of school year, all that kind of stuff. I'm into how I look and how I come across because, and this is what I think is truthful, because I feel like I have to. Like, I don't have it like that. Like, I don't have that just walk into the room and so you may feel it comes from a place of lack, right? Like, I might feel that I don't have the social personality to win you over with that, or that I don't have the intellectual fortitude in this area, so I better look the part, and that's that
Right.
fake it till you make it kind of thing. But then it gets to a point where you kind of get into it, and I'm kind of like, there's an expression for me with clothes, and it's an interesting thing because like I was downstairs and I had this pair of like almost plaid pants. They're dope. I love them, but I've like never worn them. And I'm like, oh, I got to wear these because now they kind of fit. Because I'm down like 28 pounds, right? So now I'm back in my real shape. And I put on all these clothes. I'm like, yo, these clothes fit me now. This is amazing. I got to get a lot of these coats tailored because I've been rocking with the bigger body kind of thing for a little bit. And now I'm below where I was before I started. So I'm like, I definitely need to get some tailored. But then I'd throw on a white shirt as opposed to like a white-ish shirt. as opposed to a darker shirt, and it totally changes the whole like ensemble. And I'm like, this is me. We talk about fall colors or whatever. This is the dark, mysterious, don't want to talk to you, kind of leave me alone look, right? And then there's the here's the social, I'm going to the party with people I know look. And I was literally thinking in my head, I was like, oh, I could wear this with the whiter shirt because it expresses like I'm approachable, which I'm only approachable in certain situations, right? And it's like around students, I'm more approachable too. I want to be approachable in students. And then I'm thinking of the places where I'd wear the other stuff. So I'm into it at that kind of level, which is interesting because I connect it back to how I want to be perceived, the expression, the leave me alone thing, which comes back to the introvert stuff. I have the leave me alone look over here. And I have the I'm professional and competent at this, but don't come talking to me kind of look. And in my head, that's somewhat soothing. And I know that's kind of weird. It's almost neurotic, but it's like to the point of I got to have this uniform on that tells you, don't bother me. I'm going to have this uniform, but in a nice way. And then there's this uniform on that says, oh, yeah, you can come talk to me. Like, I hope you come visit me at office hours, you know? So I'm like, this is what I'd wear first day to teach my new math class, you know, when I want people to, come meet pro, because I know that if you're just looking at me, it might come off the wrong way, you know? So I'll get into that level with the stuff. But I think most introverts, quite honestly, don't. I think most introverts don't go that path. But to me, it's because of the introvert nature that I need to do that, if that makes sense. So.
Well, what it's taking my mind too is a little different than what. Well, we'll bring it back. But okay, I came up with this idea about beauty and danger, and that was even in today's description. I was like, are introverts considered dangerous? I think most people are like, oh, that's not the perception I have. Wallflowers. But to your point about the, what they call the plume of feathers, when animals are trying to attract. Well, think about it, it's interesting. There's some butterflies that are poisonous, but they're very beautiful. It's like their beauty of their colors is like, oh wow, you're such a beautiful. It's like, yeah, but I'm dangerous. Like there's certain flowers that are like very beautiful, but if you eat them, they're poisonous. So you can see that all throughout nature. It's like lightning is like magnificent. It's like, but don't get too close. It will destroy you. Electricity is like, wow, look at it. It's mesmerizing until you touch it. So I had this whole idea. I mean, even the words we use in culture, like she's drop dead gorgeous or breathtakingly beautiful, or if looks could kill. Like there's all this connection between like death and beauty, uh, death and there's another one that's like death and beauty, death and some like love, But so it's interesting because it's like yeah. There's
Even when we
something.
say hot, she's hot.
Yeah,
Like
yeah. She's a knockout. You're right. Like there's all these things that kind of bring together this idea of something is like inviting yet keep your distance. So yeah, what you're doing is kind of both. You're like, hey yo, come talk to me, but not really. Like come talk to me, but if you can handle it. Because I mean, some things can handle. Like, hey, there's some people who can approach a lion, right? Because they've interacted with the lion enough to know, like, oh, okay, that he or she's doing that thing right now. They don't want to be touched. But there's some people who spend enough time with lions. They're like, oh, I know how to get close, and that's the perfect parallel for introverts. Like, if you've been around introverts, you know what to do. You know how to approach them. Like, oh, he's not mean. She's not mean. They just don't want you to annoy them with nonsense. But if you come into the lion cage with an interesting question, the lion is disarmed. The lion will like curl up next to you because it's like, oh, you've hit the right combination of codes. So there is something in there with that since you took it down the close route. But I think that just all ties back together with the sort of social introvert, creative extrovert, internal lion, external turtle, whatever. It's an interesting combination that we have, which is this docile yet like ferociousness at the same time.
yeah, the 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 ferocious part, um, I think always comes from a place. For me, I'm just speaking to me. For me, whenever I'm ferocious is when I'm most insecure. It's like when I'm about to lash out is when I'm most threatened, right? When I feel like I have to puff up my chest, it's because I feel like I don't puff up my chest. I puff up my chest when I feel like I'm threatened, right? But when I'm in the gym, I'm not just in the gym so I look good or I'm healthy. I'm also in the gym so I can be physically fit. Like someone said, I did PD last week, right? I set up PD and I had And shout out to Dan. I see you sharing. Thank you. Um, I was running the PD the other day. Now I ran the day PD and the afternoon PD. And I know you've sat in some rooms for some PD, right? And you're like, why am I here? And of course, I know people are doing that, and I'm trying to find value for people, right? And so I got our acting chief of police in there, and he's doing the campus security, and then he gets into active shooter stuff. And I've been really trying to have the active shooter stuff for a while, but he's not doing the full blown thing. He's actually saying why he's not doing the full blown thing, and quite honestly, I found this to be a pun intended kind of thing. There's trigger warnings to some of the videos, literally trigger warnings, right? About these videos you're going to watch about active shooters. They're traumatizing. You're watching people go boom, boom in the thing, right in the video, right off the jump, right? So he gives us the resources for that, and I share it with the second group because he's not going to be there. So I'm delivering part of his discussion because he couldn't be there for the late group. So he had another officer come in his steed, but I was just doing the intro, and I wasn't sure if she was going to be able to go up. And then she just hit me like seconds before, so I kind of had the time allotment of what I needed to speak about. So I did like 5 minutes towards the highlights of what he spoke about. And one of the things he said, was the classic thing you hear in the shooter trainings, which is, you either got to run, hide, or fight. That's what it comes down to. The whole training comes down to run, fight, or hide, right? Whatever order you want. I mean, well, not really. I mean, the order they're going to say is like, first of all, like assess the situation. But if you hear a warning, take it seriously, right? And you
Right.
got to figure out if you're at a place where you can get away, which is ideal, right? If you can't get away, you're going to hide. And if you are threatened like that, you are going to fight, right? And you think about the fight part. I mean, part of what he said was brilliant. And I was hoping he said it. I was thinking in my head because this is what I do in my day to day. And this is where it goes back to when I'm in the gym. Bro, I think about everything. I know you do. I'm thinking about the shoes I'm wearing all the time if I need to run. I'm thinking the shoes I'm wearing if I need to kick your ass. I'm thinking the clothes that I'm wearing, will they restrain me from popping off on you? Like I'm not going into an area that I feel more threatened than usual and not be prepared to throw down. But I'm never throwing down. You know what I'm saying? It's like when's the last
Right.
time I've been in a fight? 8 years ago. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that was like barely. Um, but and also our size is going to help that. I am the my son says this all the time walking with me. He's always trying to be prepared. He's got that. That's exactly how I am. I don't want to make him neurotic, but he acts the same way I do. He thinks the same things I think. He's basically thinking like should we really go over there, and if we do, like what would be the escape plan? I'm like, yo, this is great, cool. I mean, you don't want your 8 9 year old thinking about that, but in a way you do, right? And
Right.
so I delivered that message again the second time. I was like, think about the shoes you're wearing if you are going to the train. He was talking about the fact that we'll do escorts and stuff, and that one of our campuses has had a few break-ins and stuff. And really, what it came down to is they think it was juvenile break-ins. They're breaking in, they were trying to rob the snack machines. It wasn't like they were coming for some heavy duty stuff. Because it's a food desert, the area of where it is, and so it's like people trying to get snacks multiple times in a row. They got it on camera. They can't see everything, but they see it looks like juveniles going in and stealing food from a snack machine after hours. And that's sad. And a lot of times we get hung up and we hear crime, crime, crime. We don't always know what the crime is. But it's like if you're going to wear something that's valuable, you're going to be flashing it. Of course not. You'll be hiding the stuff you have on. You're not going to be just common sense stuff that anyone should know. And if you haven't thought about it, he's like telling the professors, he's like, yo, what's your footwear situation? You should be thinking about that kind of stuff. So I'm thinking that when I'm in the gym, I'm thinking that when I'm getting dressed, I'm thinking that where I'm going. And I think from being an introvert, we're always thinking about what's the environment going to be like. I think
Right.
extroverts are excited about the environment. Right? I think they're like, yo, I'm nervous about the environment. You know what I mean? And the nervousness is a close cousin to fear, and it gets me prepared. And at the bottom line, I feel like my preparation in all areas of it, as my introvertness, is my greatest asset. Whether it's prepared for the speech, prepared to write the paper, prepared to do the freestyle. I got the first 10 words of the first 10 rhymes I might do. It's like bullets in the chamber. I got them ready. You know what I'm saying? I
Right.
might have 30 ready for you, and then I got my freestyle game is on fleek. I am ready, bro. You know what I mean? So it's like we're just prepared. And that's what comes to me.
Yeah, I was trying to think about an earlier point, but while we're on this, yeah, maybe there's something there. What you're saying, maybe it's observant, being self-aware, being aware of the environment, always it's yeah, prepared is a good word because that's how I've always felt like that. I was like, I don't ever like to go anywhere and feel unprepared. Like the worst feeling that I have is the feeling like performing. It's like I never want to feel unprepared. I never want to get on stage and be like, yeah, I didn't practice
Regular bad
this.
dreams on it, by the way. Regular bad dreams on this topic, right? Right? Have you had the bad dreams where you're in the middle of the stage and you're like, you don't know your lyrics? I'm like, come on, always for me.
I don't know. I don't know if I've had that specific dream. Um, I don't know. But just like the
I'm on the
idea
stage
that
and I'm supposed to be doing a song that I've never heard of before. And my brain is going, how are we going to be doing this song? You don't know the song. Like, what are the lyrics to this song? How can you possibly do? It's like a nightmare.
yeah, I mean, but okay, well this will take us down this road. It goes when I say competitive, it's back to the competitive with myself. Because okay, here's the thing, like when people say like, oh, like I was watching an interview with Colbert, James Taylor, and he's asking me, you still get nervous? He's like, yeah, I still get nervous to this day. And it's like, okay, when people ask me, do I get nervous about performing? I'm like, no, I really don't. But I am a little bit nervous about messing up, not because I'm afraid of what people will think of me. I mean, there's a little bit of like, oh, I present myself as this expert and then I don't live up to it. There is that. Um, but I think what I've said to people is like, I'm afraid of not living up to my own standard. Like I don't want to get on stage and then because I gotta live with me. Me has to live with me. You all are staying here or you're going to your house. I'm going home with me and I'm gonna be like, dang it, I missed that line. So there is some crowd interaction of like, they think this of me now, but it's not to the point where you're like, I'm never getting on stage again. People they saw me flop, they saw me fail some lyrics, so I can't I mean, there's a whole lot in there, but that's one thing. Self competition, forgetting your lyrics, yeah. But unprepared, yeah. I never like to feel unprepared either. So maybe it's not. Maybe it's like pr- the desire to be prepared leads to the sort of, or maybe it's like this. Necessity is the mother of all invention. Maybe for us, it's like the necessity part is knowing that it's a tough world out there. So then we tap into competitiveness out of that. It's like, oh, we know we're going out into this world. People are rude. they're they're disrespectful. They don't think. So maybe our turtle shell is birthed out of that. Like we create this shell and this they're like preparation of defense. So maybe it's not so much like it's competitiveness, but it's more like defensive. Okay, so here's a good example. It's like you ever watch the show Major Dad that came on in the 90s? So the first episode, you know, the
Yep.
general or the major, Gerald McCraney, he runs into
You
this.
remembered his name.
I watched it in recent years too. Gerald McCraney, and then he meets his, future wife, Polly. She's a reporter reporting. She's liberal, he's conservative. So she's trying to get like a gotcha interview, and you all are fighters and blah, 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 blah. And so he says something about our peace offensive. She's like, peace offensive? That's a contradiction of terms. He said, oh yeah. He said, hit me. She's like, what? He said, hit me. She said, no. He said, why not? She said, because you're trained. And so, you can defend yourself. He said, so what does that mean? She said, so you're saying I won't attack you because you're prepared and you're defended. And then she was like, oh, I get it now. So she was like, you're saying being prepared and having warfare is, go out and get them. He's saying, no, we're prepared. So if people attack us, we look prepared. We give the appearance of preparedness so no one will want to attack us. So like you were saying earlier. So maybe it's like that. Maybe the
Yeah.
reason we have this shell and we present ourselves with this kind of fear, it's like, hey, don't talk to me. It's because we want to put out there like the appearance of like, don't try anything. Like I'm nice, but don't try anything.
Right. No, absolutely. That's where I'm at. That's where I was going exactly with my son thing. Now, what I forgot to say was what I'm always trying to tell him is be like, son, if someone's trying to attack someone because they need money, right? Which is usually what's going to be. It's not going to be like someone's like, hey, pro, I really want to get him. It's random, right? It's like, so you want to make yourself as least appealing as possible. And so if you do look like you got it going on like that, like it's hard. You want to look fresh and clean. You don't want to look like a bum necessarily. And So yeah, I'm telling my son, I'm like, yo, you gleaming over there, like, but here's the thing, there's also the human element. It's like I'm, I'm in the 98th percentile in terms of body size. You know what I mean? It's like I'm like 6'3.5", 200 pounds. I'm probably not the person that people are gonna go pick right off the rip if you have your choice. Now, that's not to say that three people wouldn't go say, "Hey, I like that watch." Of course, like, yo, I got the watch on, right? Three people, two people, one person that's armed might think they have it like that. So there better be something about the way that you're walking and navigating to make someone say, "Do not try it," and that becomes the default. And that was my default growing up, and it's become my default as an adult. And I try to be aware that I have that default, and now just try to be like, "Hey, we've talked about that, like needing to flash the teeth to set people at ease, kind of stuff." And as much as you don't want to do it in certain situations, there's other times where I can totally feel like, oh, this scared lady over there, she knows, like, I know that she's looking at me, like, because I came prepared with the game look, and I'm like, hey, ma'am, or we've all had to do that. And it feels unfair, but it feels like it's throwing you off or whatever. And that's what, when I get nervous at events or whatever, it's because I'm doing too much of that. I'm doing too much of the high analytical. I'm in the event and I'm doing high analytical. It's never the skills. I wouldn't step foot in the building if I was going to perform and didn't feel adequately prepared to perform. It's never like, well, there's times like what you said where I know, like it happened when I was in New Orleans. We were doing songs that I only know like 80%. And I was like, bro, like, I don't really know about this song, but I make that like the third song. Like the first three, you're gonna see
Right.
I'm the man, right? And then you're gonna give me
Right.
that grace on the fourth song or whatever. But so most of it comes from a place of the intellectual piece that we do to ourselves. Like, I hope this person sees me in this light. And then you're thinking about the next show and you're like, oh, this person can book me. So now you start performing for a few people that are there, as opposed to what
Right.
you would naturally do if those particular people weren't there. Sometimes this is why people don't perform well. Sometimes when their parents are at an event, right? Or their loved one or the children or whatever it is. And you got to give it up to pro athletes who have to do this day to day. It's like, yo, there's 30,000 people in this building. Plus, everyone can watch it back on video. That's a lot of mental kind of stuff going on when you think of all the different scenarios that there could be. So you just got to be A1 on top of your game. I was watching LeBron last night and Isaiah Thomas and Jason Tatum, and a few other pros playing this pro-am basketball game with a bunch of either like really good college players, players who were pros, players who are on the cusp. It's like D League kind of stuff. And they were killing it, and like Jason Tatum had 20 points in like just about the first quarter, and it's like shooting from half court and all this kind of stuff. And you're like, but if you think about the pressure on him, if he doesn't hit some of those shots, you don't want to look like a scrub playing against people that look below your level. So it's the same thing in MC. And you come into a place and there's like 40 people and, there's a bunch of amateurs or whatever. You still got to shine. You still can't, you still got to represent. So it's like, I'm not going to be too cool for school kind of thing when I perform. I'm not going to be too cool for school when I'm walking down the street either. It's like I'm thinking about who's there. I'm thinking about where I am. I'm thinking about someone could see me in a poor light, how that would represent me. And we do all this mental gymnastics that we know as introverts we're always doing. We're always doing this kind of stuff. And sometimes it's easy of us to be dismissive of our extrovert friends to feel like they're not thinkers. You know what I'm saying? But it's like they're thinking of something different. I don't think that they're thinking about this at the high level. You'll see a lot of people who are extrovert performers, and they're like, "I love performing. I'm never nervous. I never blah blah blah." They're just so in their element that it's like, they're just there to have fun. I am not there
Right.
to have fun. Truth be told, I'm not there to have fun. Like, it's fun as a
Right.
byproduct.
Right.
It's a byproduct of fun. It's a nervous excitement that's fun. I'm not, like you said, I'm not nervous in the classical sense. Like, I'm not the, oh, look at me, I'm on stage, I'm nervous. No, I'm nervous that something could go wrong. But it's not going to be me performing necessarily. That's the thing going on. It's not like I'm going to suck. It's like if I
Right.
came today, I'm not going to suck. I just want to position everything in the right light, make sure everyone's okay. I'm thinking about too much sometimes. That's my biggest asset or liabilities, that I'm thinking too much. And I feel like extroverts, they're just having a blast. And they're just like, hey, we're having so much fun. Come on over
Right.
here and do the karaoke. I'm not doing the karaoke. I'm saying karaoke's not going down, for all
Well,
the
I think
reasons
that
I just said.
well, I think it's connect. Well, I think for the introvert is concerned about the excellence and the execution of the event or the larger picture, not necessarily about themselves. Like, yeah, like you're not nervous for your own being. You're nervous for like, I want this to come off well. I can see how extrovert, I think they would probably be like that in the social setting. Like they want all the place settings and all the invitations and make sure everyone's taken care. Like to them, that's their kind of performance. And to us, we're like, what's the big deal? Like, they're like, no, but that was my friend. And we're like, whatever. Like I thought it was a party. So for us, that our version is the performance. We're like, okay, the light and the sound, and okay, did you check your mic? And they're like, oh, it was no big deal. We had a good time. You're like, no, it was off. Like, cause you'll find that often, like when you come to people and you're nitpicking stuff, they're like, I didn't even notice it. And you're like, exactly, that's the problem. You weren't even paying attention to what was going wrong. But I think this ties into like the classic thing where the one person in the group is the introvert and they want to do the best, and everybody's like, oh, whatever, can we just all, wing it? I think it speaks to that because I feel like, yeah, like I said, if I go into church, if I go into setting, I'm combative because I'm like, all right, come on, let's go. And I think everyone else is like, whoa, like, why are you combative? Like, why? Let's get to know one another. I'm like, no, I don't want you to know me. I want to, I want to debate you. Like, I want that challenge. So there's something there. Like, we're very competitive because it's our nature, and I think we don't find many people who will just come in the room and go, let's go. It's like me just seeing you on the street and saying, you want to go? And then we just start wrestling in the middle of the street. People be like, yo, what are y'all doing? I was like, somebody who wants to wrestle. That's what's
Yep.
happening in the intellectual landscape. I'm just looking for somebody, yo, let's wrestle now. And most people are just like, we didn't come to wrestle. We came to eat popcorn. And you're like, well, who's gonna
Right.
wrestle me? Like, I need someone to wrestle.
Speaking of which, you said the magic word. I do have to be going. We are actually going to see E.T., by the way. So my son is going to see E.T. in the theater. It's playing at Regal Theaters. Shout out to Regal Theaters, who are almost bankrupt, by the way. They should be filing for bankruptcy soon as the number 2 largest movie chain in the country.
You
Uh,
hoping this for them?
we gotta try to help them a little bit in our small little way. But I think he's excited that he's gonna get to see ET. I'm like, yo, it's that movie. I'm hoping it aged well. I think it does. I think ET is aged well. I think it was way ahead of the curve when it came out, so I think it's aged pretty well. Other than the fact there's no phones and everything like that, but you know what I'm saying? Like when ET's phone at home, he is not on the Samsung. You know what I'm saying? Just putting it out there. He is. My son's like, oh, ET's phone at home. Like he got a phone? That nah, he's definitely landlining it up. You know. Um, so yeah, we got to run for that. But yeah, there's a lot to this. This opened me up to a few things that I wasn't thinking. So I think there's a lot more to explore here. And I think again, I'm always back to the dichotomy of the introvert versus the extrovert kind of thing, and Jen trying to find where the gray area is and where the Venn diagram intersection point is. And I think really you just hit on it. That I was laughing when you said it about, yo, yeah, but we're checking on the lights. Yeah, we don't care about the invitations or whatever. Just come, or just show up. You come into the house, just bring your own whatever, right?
Right.
But you're doing a show. It's like, yo, bro, I got everything covered at the show. Yeah, you should see my pack. I got like my little pack of wires. I got every freaking possible wire you can imagine. Like I'm the wire dude. I got the converters. I
The
got
wire, dude.
dude. I got every wire you can imagine. Even at the thing the other night, I had everything down possible, right, for the PD that I was doing in a room that I've never really used the AV. I have once before, but didn't really had a chance to play with it. And there was one thing that would go wrong. It was minor. No one really noticed. And the next day I came in, I said, I need 10 minutes of clear thinking where I'm not worried, because the nervousness sets in when you're there and people are watching. You can't even think in your right head and people are asking you questions, right? And it's like, I needed to be prepared that I was willing to be prepared the next day because I couldn't have this go on
Right.
any longer. Not to mention, it was in a room that I just found out faculty are going to be teaching in. So now I'm like, I really got to find out. Like, it was it
Right.
was it was a sound issue, really, and I figured it out. But I figured it out in 10 minutes of clear thinking. Where most people don't care, they're just like, whatever. And I'm like, what? No, this is supposed to work this way. We're going to make sure it works this way. I want you to be at your best in this particular, room. So
Right.
there's a lot to that. Whereas it's like, yeah, we'll come into your house and like, dude, just show me where the beanbag is, and you know what I'm saying, I'm good.
Well, we'll
But
get into that more next time. Uh Last thing I'll say is like, yeah, this to your point about all the wires, I met this guy named Derek, amazing bass player, and we were just hanging out one time at the show, and he was just like you. He's like, "Yep, I got the XLR, I got the quarter inch, I got the whatever." And he every time I would mention something, he's like, "Yep, I got one of them." He's just going down the list. This dude then said, he said, "Yo, He said, I keep the USB drive in my pocket in case I need the VST to download and install the song. I was like, yo, you've gone to the max. But I loved it. I was like, this dude is thinking so far ahead that he's like, literally, if the software becomes corrupt, I got the backup installation file
Bro,
to install.
I have PowerPoints converted to PDFs because they don't always project on
Yep.
certain machines. It's
Yep.
like I got the flash drive, I got it all sent to the email, I got it in the cloud, I got that. I send right before the show the last email to myself of everything in order. Plus,
Yeah,
I
the
got the wake list and
paper copy.
everything, bro. Everything. Yep. I had to go in early the day before on the printer stuff. Yeah, man. I'm that dude. Yeah, I'm that dude. Because you've been wrong so often on it, and you're so used to people not having one of these things that matter to us because we've pre-gamed, you know.
Right.
And it's like, oh, you didn't bring the XLR. Like, what are you
Right.
thinking? You know.
Right.
You know. Come on. Yeah, man. All right. So let me pull out my HDMI cable here and wrap this one up. All
All
right,
right.
Joe.
All right.
Peace.